Part 2. Deep in the root strata of the hypersphere, Julian bypassed the realms of bone and blood. He realized that the mammals and reptiles were merely the loud, fast-moving surface foam of a much deeper ocean of intelligence. To reach the truly ancient masters, he had to tune his PhD thesis to a frequency of biological computation. Beneath the memory of the first forests, he found civilizations that didn't just inhabit the world, they were the world. The mycelial neural net, the fungal sovereignty. Descending into the dark, damp layers of the hypersphere's subsurface, Julian encountered the Mycologos. This wasn't a city of buildings, but a planet-sized brain made of fine, silver filaments. The intelligence. These fungi had solved the traveling salesman problem and quantum encryption billions of years ago. They didn't use speech. They used chemical neurotransmitters that could transmit 1,000 years of history in a single puff of spores. The archives. Julian stood in awe as he realized the soil of the past was actually a massive biological hard drive. Every death, every leaf fall, and every breath of every creature in history had been indexed and stored by the mycelium. Their duty, to act as the sphere's garbage collector and system memory, ensuring that no experience was ever truly lost. The chlorophyll architectures, the botanical hegemony. Above the fungal nets, Julian discovered the arboreal technocrats. These were plants that had mastered the art of slow time. To them, a human life was as fleeting as a lightning flash. Living cities. They didn't build with steel. They used biolatticing to grow skyscrapers that were giant, sentient organisms. These structures harvested solar radiation from the future sky above and converted it into pure liquid wisdom. The diversity of form. He saw succulents that functioned as massive telescopes, focusing light through crystalline sap to map the stars, and ferns that acted as organic radio towers, communicating with distant galaxies. The professor's transformation. The sheer diversity of these kingdoms made Julian's earlier research look like a children's book. He realized that the modern species of his home time were incredibly narrow-minded, trapped by their reliance on muscles and nerves. The final thesis. Julian, now the Dean of Universal Life, stood at the intersection where the roots met the spores. He began to translate the silent lectures of the trees for his human and animal students. "We thought intelligence required a brain," Julian whispered, his skin beginning to take on a faint, photosynthetic glow. "But the plants taught me that intelligence is just the way life handles light, and the fungi taught me that wisdom is just the way life handles death." In this hyper-reality, Julian no longer walked. He rooted. He no longer just thought. He blossomed. He had finally moved past being a student of history. He had become a part of the Earth's living, breathing consciousness, bridging the gap between the green blood of the past and the golden light of the future. The deeper Julian descended, the more the laws of physics began to fray at the edges. To reach the primordial core, he had to traverse the microseas, vast oceans contained within single droplets of dew hidden inside the root nodules of the fungal sovereignty. The shrinking. To survive the transition, Julian visited the blissful chapter of the future mammalian era, a golden age where dolphins and humans had merged their civilizations into floating cities of coral and light. From them, he borrowed the attoshrinkers, crystalline devices that didn't just reduce size, but compressed a traveler's molecular density into a state of stable singularity. As the device hummed, the world expanded until a single blade of grass became a towering emerald skyscraper. Julian dived into a shimmering pool of primordial water, now as vast to him as the Pacific. The descent through the pools. The pools were chronological filters. Each one Julian dived through stripped away a layer of complexity. The first pool. The world of nerves and senses vanished. The second pool. The world of photosynthesis and spores dissolved. The third pool, he swam through a soup of prebiotic proteins where the very idea of life was being debated by amino acids. Finally, he reached the zero-point valve, the drain at the bottom of the hypersphere that led directly to the center, the primordial core, the birth of the sphere. Julian emerged from the microscopic depths into a void of blinding, chaotic beauty. He was no longer a professor, he was a witness. Here at the core, there was no above or below. There was only the great ignition, the Ferris heart. He saw the Earth's core crystallizing, a massive, spinning iron diamond that generated the first magnetic pulses. These pulses were the first duty of the planet, the rhythmic heartbeat that would eventually allow the hypersphere to form. The weaving of the membrane, Julian watched as gravity began to pull the memories of the future and the echoes of the past into the spherical shape. He saw the very moment his own PhD thesis, and every thought ever conceived, was encoded into the planet's molten crust. The first breath, steam erupted from the cooling rocks, creating the first atmosphere. In the hypersphere's reality, this steam was composed of pure potential, the raw material from which the bird, reptile, and fungal civilizations would later be carved. The ultimate realization. Floating at the center of the Earth's birth, Julian looked at his hands. They were translucent, shimmering with the same iron fire as the core. He realized that the hypersphere wasn't just a place he had studied. It was a living record of the cosmic duty. The beginning and the end are the same point, Julian whispered, his voice echoing through the newborn canyons of the world. The thesis isn't just a paper. It's the proof that the universe has finally looked back at itself and understood. He stood at the epicenter of the Big Bang's terrestrial echo. He was the professor of the beginning, the student of the end, and the first inhabitant of a world that was being born and dying in the same magnificent